Okay, guys, the next minute has hit. For some of you guys returning, you may already know, but my name is Skylar. I'm a senior at MSMS, and I'm from Goshen, Mississippi.
My name is Mason. I'm also a senior at MSMS, and I'm from Grenada, Mississippi.
Okay, so we're gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna share my screen. You're gonna see my paper, and Mason will call on you to answer questions, or if you just wanna talk in the chat, that's really cool too. Hi guys, so can everyone see my paper? Can you give me a thumbs up? Okay, so let's start. Right here, let's read the instructions. Use the first column to understand the puzzle pattern. Use multiplication and division to fill the beehive. So right here, we have the beehive, and we're gonna use multiplication to figure out A and B today, and then you guys will do the rest yourselves. So if we're using multiplication, the operation we're gonna use between 2.4 and 0.25 is multiplication, and this will equal 0.6. Does everyone see that pattern?
Can you work it out a second just so we can make sure what you're telling us is right?
Yes.
You guys don't trust Skylar. You gotta always question.
That's so true. So we're just gonna multiply really quickly. This is how everyone would set up their multiplication. 5 times 4 equals 20. 2 times 5 equals 10 plus 2 equals 12. 0. 2 times 4 equals 8. Times 2 times 2 equals 4. Then we're gonna add 0, 0. Oh, sorry, not 0, 10, carry the 1, 6. And then as you see, there are 3 numbers behind the decimal, 1, 2, 3. Sorry for that extra dot there, just ignore that, my ink dripped. So we're gonna put a decimal right here because there's 1, 2, 3 behind the decimal like we have right here. And then that gives you this product 0.6. Does everyone understand that? Can you give me another thumbs up? Okay. If you guys have any questions, you guys can totally type it in the chat and Mason will say something. Does anyone want to tell me the answer, the 2 numbers that give you 0.15? If you raise your hand, Mason can call on you. Okay, I see someone raising their hand, but I can't see their name.
It's Joshua James. Do you want to go ahead and unmute and tell us what you're thinking? Also, if your name is not that, feel free to correct us.
Wait, what was the question again?
Oh, the question is, how do we get 0.15 from 0.25 and 0.6? Like, what operation do we use?
No, not.
Maybe I can give you a little help. So it's called the multiplication beehive, and we're continuing with that pattern. So like through the hint in the instructions and the title, what operation do you think we use?
Okay, Margot and Moshi type something in chat.
Okay, Margot, you're right. Moshi, you're gonna be right on the next one. Okay, so Margot is right. We're using, oh, thank you, Joshua. We're using 0.25 times 0.6, and this will equal 0.15. You can work that out. It's this same exact process, but for the sake of time, I'm gonna move on. So just remember that whenever you're multiplying, you multiply normally, but you have to count what's behind the decimal and make sure that the 3 behind the decimal is the same as the number of numbers behind the product and the decimal. So there needs to be 3 behind the decimal in the product. We can move on. So let's find A, guys. So we know that this is a multiplication puzzle. So 5.5 multiplied times A needs to equal 1.65. So 5.5 times A equals 1.65. So I think Moshi said it in the chat, but you need to divide the you need to see how many times 5.5 can go into 1.65. So you're gonna set up your house. Does everyone agree with that step? Can you give me a big thumbs up? Oh, I think someone's unmuted. Okay. Everyone agrees. That's awesome. So does anyone know the next step that we have to do whenever we're doing long division with decimals? Okay. I can tell you. So we need to move all the decimals to the end for the 5.5. So if we move this 2 decimal points over, this makes this 550. And the reason why we have to move the decimal places 2 points over, it's because we're gonna do it in what's under the house too. So this is 550 now, and this equals 165. And then, so the decimal place is gonna be right here. That would make this a 0. And then there's gonna be a decimal that's moved right here. Does everyone understand that? We're good? Okay, sounds good. I see head shaking. And then for the answer, there also needs to be the decimal place. I'm sorry, guys, for the noise. The decimal place in the third answer. So we see that 550 cannot go into 1. 550 cannot go into 6, and 550 cannot go into, oh, I'm at 16, or 165. So we start behind the decimal. Can anyone tell me in the chat how many times 550 can go into 1,650? Oh, I see a 0.3 by Moshi. Okay, awesome. So yeah, it's 0.3, and then you multiply it out. So 0, and then 3 times 0 equals 0, 3 times 5 equals 15, carry the 1, 3 times 5 equals 16, and then that equals 0. So now we know that A equals 0.3. Does everyone understand how we got that answer? Okay, I see heads nodding. Does anyone want to tell me how we get to answer B? You can raise your hand or you can type it in the chat. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to work and then we'll start on answer B. Just remember that you multiply to always get the next answer, but in this case, you're recognizing that the inverse of multiplication is division, which is why we divided 1.65 by 5.5. I still see people working, so I'll give you guys another minute. Moshi has 0.5. Okay, that is the correct answer. B equals 0.5. I also agree. Moshi, would you like to explain why that's the answer? Okay, yeah, I can explain it. That's cool. So V is, oh, Margot's right too. Just remember your decimal. I'll teach you where to put the decimal in a second or show you. So B equals 0.45. And the reason why is because if we look right here, we're maintaining the same pattern. So 1.65 is divided by 5.5. And we're going to go back and use this because remember, multiplication or division is the inverse of multiplication. So we're trying to undo this operation. So this is division. And then let's set up our house right. So if we're dividing something into something, then what we're dividing by needs to be outside of the house, so 3.7. And what we're trying to divide into needs to be inside the house. This is a 5. Sorry for the handwriting, guys. Remember to move back your decimal places because you always want the decimal to be on the outside. So the denominator's decimal needs to be on the outside. And so remember, move it back right here. You do the same right here. You move the decimal back right here. So now we have 37 and 16.65. And your decimal starts right here because you want your answer to match up with the decimal under the house. So because we have 2 numbers in front of the decimal inside the house, it needs to be the same for the answer. So we know that 37 can't go into 1. We know that 37 can't go into 16, but we do know that 37 can go into 166. And you can guess around in your head, but because of Moshi, we also know, and Margot, we know that it can go in at least 4 times. So 7 times 4 equals 28, so 8 and then a 2. And then we have 4 times 3, which equals 12. And remember, we're carrying the 2, so that will equal 14. And then we subtract, that will give us a 2. That will give us a 5. We cross this out, make that a 5, carry the 1, 6, 9, 1. And now we have 195. And then also because of Margot Moshi, we know the next number is a 5 in the division. I might have, oops.
Tyler, does that say 16 minus 8 is 9?
Yeah, that's 8. Sorry. We're
Do you guys know how terrifying it is to do long division on camera?
Sorry,
Skylar's
guys.
great, isn't she? You guys, everyone give Skylar a thumbs up for us, because Skylar needs to know that we understand that what she's doing is really hard. We're doing it too on our paper, and people aren't seeing our papers. You're doing great, Skylar.
If I ever do anything wrong, please correct me. Like, you can say it in chat or just yell out you're wrong, and it's totally fine. But thank you. And then, okay, guys, so we're going to do the next multiplication to subtract out. So we know that 5 times 7 equals 35, right? So 5, carry your 3. And then we know that 5 times 3 equals 15 plus 3 equals 18. So now we're going to 0. And like Moshe and Margot said, remember that this is what we're finding for B. So B will equal 0.45. And always remember that the reason why there are 2 places behind the decimal is because in the numerator, or the number under the house, this number, like this 16665, is actually 16.65. So the decimal places need a match. There always needs to be 2 numbers behind the decimal. Do you think you can finish the rest of the puzzle by yourself? I see one more chat.
Moshe says that he knows what C is. He says it's 0.74925.
Moshe is correct. We can also go over C if you guys would like. I'm going to pull out another puzzle. We have 10 more minutes, so we can definitely go over more things. So this is C, guys. So we already figured out A, and let's write in what B is. Remember, we just found that's 0.45. Can someone tell me how we get C?
Moshe, you have your hand up. You can unmute and tell us, or type it in the chat, whichever you prefer.
1.665 times 0.45.
Okay, you're totally right. And then now, guys, let's multiply this out. So Moshe is saying that B times 1.665, we're going to use the operation of multiplication. And then this will equal sign C. So I will multiply it out for you guys. And remember, if I make a mistake again, you can totally just yell it out. That's cool. So 5 times 5 equals 5, 2, because 25. And then we're going to have 5 times 6, which equals 30, plus 2, which equals 32. Then we have 5 times 6 again, which equals 30, but we have a 3, so 33. 5 times 1 equals 1, plus 3 equals 8, plus, drop your 0 because now we're moving on to the tenths place. Remember, it's tenths and not 10 because we have the decimal in the front. So 4 times 5 equals 0, 2. Then we have 4 times 6, which equals 24, plus 2 equals 6, 26. 4 times 6 again equals 24, plus 2 equals 26, 2. 4 times 1 equals 4, plus the 2 right here. I'm trying not to block the handwriting. Equals 6. Okay, and then we're gonna do add. But the important part about adding isn't just adding, it's also where to place the decimal. So remember that after you add, so 5, 2 plus 0 equals 0, 2, 3 plus 6 equals 9, plus 1, 1 plus 6 equals 7, 7 plus 8 equals 15, carry the 1, 7. But remember right here, how many do we have behind the decimal? 3 places.
Skylar,
oh, go ahead.
Skylar, you carried a 1 when the answer was 9.
Skylar,
When
you're right. Sorry, guys. That's totally right. Okay, so remember there are 3 decimal places. And then remember here there are 2 decimal places. So there needs to be 5 numbers behind the decimal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the answer ends up being 3.74925. And guys, I'm so sorry, but what Mason's referring to is 3 plus 6 equals 9, and you do not carry a 1. So then 8 plus 6 equals 14, carry the 1, and then that makes the 7. I'm sorry, guys, but thank you. We actually have a couple more minutes left. Does anyone want to solve D?
Moshi already has the answer in chat. He says it's equal to 3.2.
Okay, Moshi, you're really cool. You're working really fast. And even if you're not done working, I encourage you to like definitely work this because it will like give you guys a lot of practice. And if you guys ever need help, your parents or teachers, we're supposed to be emailed the solutions, and then you can always ask us if you need help. That's totally cool. So remember that because we're skipping and the answers aren't side by side. So if we were going like this would give just multiplication, but we're trying to get D, not 22.72. So we still need to use the inverse of division. And so, Moshi, can you tell us what your setup is?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, that sounds good. So I can do the setup. So we're gonna put 22.72 under the house right, because we need to divide into it, and then 7.1 on the outside. And remember our rules, we always need to move the decimal to the end. So move it to the end. So now there's actually 3 in front of the decimal. Your quotient or your answer needs to have the same amount of numbers in front of the decimal. So let's bring the decimal up. So do you see these 3 places? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's see if 71 can go into 22. It can't, but it can go into 227. And Moshi said it goes in 3 times. So let's multiply. 1 times 3 equals 3. 3 times 7 equals 21. So that will equal 14. Drop the 2. And then we know this can't go in. It can't go in just one time. It has to go in more. And Moshi already told us it's 3.2. But if you don't know, like obviously test, don't take my word for granted. But we know that 2 times 1 equals 2. 2 times 7 equals 14 equals 0. So now we have a D equals 3.2. And we can also check this, remember, because division and multiplication are inverse operations. So we can do 7.1 times 3.2. Remember, 3.2 is D. It's just what we solved for. But instead of solving for D, we're going to solve for 22.72 now to show you that all of these numbers are related. So 2 times 1 equals 2. 2 times 7 equals 14. Drop your 0. 3 times 1 equals 3. 3 times 7 equals 21. 2, 7, 2, 2. And we get the same exact answer. Remember, there are 2 numbers behind the decimal. So there needs to be 2 numbers behind the decimal in your product. Okay. Is that good for everyone? Okay, I see a thumbs up, a couple thumbs up. We have 3 minutes left, and I don't think I'm gonna go over anything else. I'll let you guys work on your own, but is there any questions that you have?
I'm confused.
Mm-hmm. What are you confused about?
Well, just confused.
Okay, that's totally fine. Let's start from the beginning, right? Okay. So let's start over here. So it's a multiplication operation that we're using, and the operation just means the step that we're using. I'm so sorry, that was just background noise. So the operation is the step that we're using to get the answer. So the step that we're using between 2.4 and 0.25. So I'm gonna write it out for you. 2.4 times 0.25. And then the answer is gonna be 0.6, right? So if you multiply these two, you're gonna get this answer. But let's say 0.25 is missing, right? So if 0.25 is missing, we need to recognize that we don't want multiplication because that's to get the answer, but now we're trying to get one of the numbers that we use to multiply. So we're gonna reverse, which is called using the inverse, and use division. And so then we do 0.6 divided by 2.4 equals 0.25. And if you think about this conceptually, I don't know if you guys have like learned this word yet, but like don't think about the numbers, think about the concept or the idea. 0.6 is less than 2.4. And we know that because 2.4 is a whole number and 0.6 is a decimal, it doesn't even equal 1. So this answer definitely cannot be a whole number. It has to be a percentage or a decimal because like conceptually or the idea you're thinking behind it is that 0.6 is definitely smaller than 2.4. Did that explanation help, Joshua?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay. If you still have trouble, like next week, whenever we're doing Mason's problem set at the end, just like keep asking us questions, or honestly, like look at the key. But if you still have problems, like I can talk to Miss Z and you can email me questions and I can like do a follow-up. Oh, guys, okay. So that is the end of weekly math workouts for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you had a super fun time. And like we said, like never ever like don't ask your questions. Like please ask. Like our goal is for you to understand and also to have a really fun time. And it's really, really fun to get the answer and get it right. So yeah, thank you. Oh, you guys, if you need to leave, just go down to the leave room and then you can press leave meeting.